This is my encounter with the Pale One. I was back home in Southern Oregon, Jackson County, in October of 2016. I am hanging out with my friends one night after work. My friends are Jay and Junior, IMC. We are bored and don't really know what to do. I suggest we go to the arena in the woods late at night for some exploration. The arena is a field/wooded area used by the two big high schools that rival each other in my hometown. JROTC has war simulations that they do there. We're on the way there, going through a road surrounded by dead grassy fields in the middle of the night. It's probably around 11 p.m. The way there, I'm talking about skinwalkers just to spook everyone, because they get scared really easily. They get spooked and tell me to shut up. We get to the arena entrance. The entry has grass that reaches like 10 feet high. It's spooky as hell. All we hear is the tires on gravel, and Jay turns off the headlights. We feel a weird vibe as soon as we go further. Jay reaches a spot to park. At this point, we are under a canopy of trees, and in front of us is the woods. To our left is the entry, and to our right is the entry to the field portion of the arena, with CQB prop houses. The lights are still off. The windows are all down. All we hear is crickets and some other bugs. Everyone dares me to get out of the car. I get out of the car and walk around for a few minutes. I see nothing. I look around and then I get back in the car. Everyone starts talking about their previous JROTC arena battles. Junior interrupts everyone by shushing us and telling us to shut up and listen. The crickets are quiet and everything is dead silent. This weird vibe hits and everyone starts scanning the surroundings. Jay rolls up the windows. Jay hits the lights. I look at the woods in front of us and I see it. It's this pale and sickly, disgusting looking humanoid creature. It's slowly zigzagging through the woods and coming closer to us. It gets to the edge of the woods and gets behind the last tree. It's just standing there with one claw or hand gripping the tree and hiding its body while peeking out at us. Its eyes are just black pits and there is no eye shine, but when it locked eyes with me, it was that moment when I realized I really did have a soul, and that thing wanted to take it from me, and it easily could have. All we had for defense was the car, some pocket knives, and a can of axe and a lighter. It crept back into the woods after looking at us. I don't know how long we all sat there, but it felt like around 10 minutes, and we left immediately after that. A few nights later, we go back. This time I bring a bloody T-bone steak as bait and a handgun. I place the steak on the ground near the edge of the woods and walk backwards to the car. We see nothing at all after waiting around for a bit, and there is no dark vibe or dead silence either. We forget about the whole thing and hit up some 24/7 Mexican food place called Muchas Gracias and snag some burritos and horchata. We go back for a third time. The steak is gone, and there is a stain on the concrete where I placed it. Nothing happened, but this time, as we reached the exit to leave, we felt the vibe again, and he sped out, and we just laughed because the vibe hit as we were right in that very cramped spot at the exit. I don't know if this thing is some sort of demon or subterranean humanoid, but what really had me on edge after my encounter was knowing that during the battle in the arena, while I was laying in thick thorn bushes, covered in spiders, stalking the enemy team, I could have actually been the one being stalked by that thing, and not even have realized it. I did have that feeling I was being watched and followed that day, but I did not catch anyone or anything creeping up on me. I heard that talking about skinwalkers attracts them, but I knew it was not a skinwalker. We were way too close to town and nowhere near a Native American reservation. This thing is what's known as a crawler, I think, like from that movie, The Descent, or rake creature. I know the rake is some made-up creature, but that's the closest description of it that I could come up with, but without that weird metal claw on its end. Not sure if that was the first official sighting of one in that specific part of Oregon. Fast forward to January 2021. I am no longer in Oregon at this point, and I have not been there in 3.5 years. I reconnected with my friend Jay, who was the driver. During a phone call, he tells me he encountered it again in 2020 while he had a friend with him. 2 of the people in the back seat were asleep since this was late at night. He tells me it was in a grassy field by some trees. They were parked up and talking about something when they immediately felt a dark vibe and they looked at the woods in front of them. The pale one was back, and this time it was even closer than last time. It locked eyes with him this time. He told me that when they did, he had never felt so much fear in his life. The pale one then started to creep around from side to side, as if it was looking for a weak point to attack. As it was circling them, it did not break eye contact with Jay. Jay could not take it anymore, so he hit the gas and sped out of there. Jay and his friend started asking each other if they really saw that thing, and that they need to get the hell away from there. Dude tells Jay that they could all go to his house because he lives close by. Jay says, "Screw that, no, you live too close to that thing." Jay drops everyone off and dips. As he wraps up his story, I remind him of our encounter years ago in the arena, and he realizes that the most recent encounter was in the same area. He starts telling me how he has started doing intense research on this cryptid. He has become obsessed with it in a way as well. I plan on returning to Oregon in the near future to go looking for that thing. I will scout the surrounding area. I have a bit of a bonus encounter. This happened in the summer of 2011, I think. I was about 12 years old at the time. I am in the car with my grandparents. They are both deaf, so they speak sign language. My grandpa wants to go for a drive in the woods to take me and my siblings' minds off the divorce. We go on the road that heads out of Medford towards White City. We are near Shady Cove at this point. It's a long drive, lots of tall trees. I see a few deer and some roadkill. My siblings are asleep and so is Grandma. Grandpa and I are chilling, just driving. I look out the window the whole time thinking about the divorce and what happens next. Typical broken family BS. Grandpa takes a road that goes upwards into the mountains. We are elevated, and I look out the window and look down at the forest below. I see what I think is a mountain lion at the time, but then I realize it's way too damn huge to be a mountain lion. This big cat is the size of a bear, and it looks buff as hell. I have been stalked by mountain lions in Oregon before. They were much, much smaller. The lion has no mane, so I assume it's a female. There is a big cat sanctuary in Oregon. I'm not sure if it's an escaped lion, but why all the way over here in this area? Surely someone would have noticed it escaping, and it would have been on the news. Years later, I remember the encounter. I realize it may have been an extinct North American lion from the Ice Age. I have heard of other people encountering these things in Colorado and Idaho. Anyway, sort of related to this, I attend high school in Medford that has college classes integrated in it instead of military boarding school. I take some outdoor leadership course because professor said it could help get my foot in the door for a career in forestry and possibly help me become a ranger. The class is okay. We go on trips to the outdoors and stuff, snowboarding at Mount Ashland, visit Cradle Lake during a blizzard, and walk on top of 15 feet of snow. Go rock climbing at Smith Rock, Oregonian stuff. I asked the ranger about Crater Lake's UFO sightings and cryptid sightings and the people who went missing. She laughs it off and says it's nothing to worry about, people just get lost all the time. She pulls me aside mid-hike and asks me to help her clear a trail in the snow for the class so it's easier for everyone to get downhill. I follow her. She starts telling me how there is stuff that she cannot mention or she will get fired, but tells me to look up some dude named David Paulides and to look into the Dennis Lloyd Martin case and to look up some guy on YouTube. I do it. Loads of info and stuff I did not expect. Find out about the clusters of missing people in national parks and the deep underground military bases underneath every park and the tunnels in the underground cities. I find out about tunnels underneath Portland. I find out about giant humanoids roaming the deep woods of Oregon and the dogmen and different types of Sasquatch. Oregon also has a goatman. There is not much information on it, but it has short horns and was last spotted somewhere in central Oregon. Mount Hood and Crater Lake are the two hot spots for cryptid and alien activity. Weird stuff also goes on near some place called Dead Indian. Anyway, fast forward. It's now 2017, White City, Oregon. I am hanging out with Jay again and his cousin A. A introduces us to two hunter buddies. We all go to some random location in the woods somewhere near White City after hitting the Minute Market. We park in some spot on the side of the road and decide to do some exploring. Accidentally stumble onto a farm and we back out. Head back to the parking spot. In front of us is the road, and behind the road there is a grassy field with a few cows far off to the side. Directly in front far ahead is tree line and a small mountain/hill. I see a big red light over the mountain. I assume it's a plane or a helicopter. The light disappears and I think nothing of it. The hunters start talking about the time they were hunting at night near Dead Indian. They talk about how they were in the woods and everything went dead quiet mid-hunt and they heard some lady scream, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I'm sorry, please, no, don't do it," and then heard her screams of death. We all assume someone murdered their cheating wife or something. I look back at the mountain. The light is back, but this time it's moving upwards and then descending slowly. We all look. I can see the outline of a huge ship, and it seemed like the light was just tiny in comparison. We hear some weird noise, and everyone decides it is time to go. The light follows us for a while. We hit up that 24/7 place and get burritos again. I can't sleep that night. I stayed up until 4 a.m. I finally pass out. I have a nightmare about being abducted by aliens. Fast forward to the year 2020. I find the threads about the human hunters in Oregon. I remember the story that the hunters told me back in White City. I start to wonder if they stumbled into one of the events or something, and I start thinking that they maybe left out some details. Their story did sound pretty sketchy looking back. Oregon has a large homeless population in Oregon that was brought in by a cult that took over the town of Antelope. When they were done using the homeless, they bust them out and left them in surrounding areas in other cities in Oregon. A lot of homeless decided to live in the woods or travel to Portland. I wonder if the homeless were being snatched up and used for the human hunts. There was a guy in Oregon years ago dressed in full kit, running around in some forest, and he had wore tiger stripe camo and carried an AR. He shot at someone, but the guy he shot was not hit. He was probably one of the hunters participating in one of those events. Rewind to 2011. My parents are getting divorced. Sisters are with my mom, and I am with my dad. My dad takes me for a hike in some woods in Grants Pass. We are deep in the woods and kinda lost. There are ferns and trees all over the place, covered in spider webs. I start feeling anxious. I see spiders everywhere, the size of tarantulas. They look like gray wolf spiders. At some point, we see the ferns moving rapidly, and a spider the size of a chihuahua runs across our path. 12-year-old me is scared shitless, obviously, shitting bricks at the sight of this. My dad grabs me by my shoulder, and we start backing up quickly, but quietly, so we do not attract the attention of another one. Thinking it's running away from something bigger, we turn around and head back the way we came from. We find our way back to the trail and get back to the big green van he bought when I was born. We sit in the van. My dad tells me it was just a baby bear and that we do not want to run into Mama Bear. What bear has 8 legs? Dad, did you think I was stupid? We go out to eat at some restaurant by the river. I guess the giant spiders are also in North America and not just Vietnam and the Amazon. I have heard of people encountering gnomes in Oregon as well. Oregon, Central Point, 2016 again. Bored at night, nothing to do. We park at the memorial. We sit there, talking about the movie, I Am Legend. I notice something white in the distance. It looks like a man in white Navy ceremonial dress uniform. He is floating midair and looks like he's spinning around, dancing or something. I realize he is in the cemetery across the field from us. We are in the parking lot by restrooms. I realize he's a ghost because he is floating. We watch him. He disappears. I get out of the car and walk towards the field that separates us from the cemetery. It's dead silent. Junior gets out of the car and stands next to me. We start talking about the ghost. We get back in the car and try to head into the cemetery. The gates are closed. We go home. It's my first ghost sighting. Not very exciting, I know. Okay, I'm back. Oregon in 2010. I am kayaking with cousins and my uncle in some river. It's my first time in a kayak. The kayak flips and I am underwater. I think I'm going to drown again. I have been forcefully baptized by my cousins before, and I think it's them again. While underwater, I open up my eyes. The water is a bit foamy in some spots, but clear enough to see at least 6 feet in front of me. I see 2 small aquatic animals that resemble baby Loch Ness monsters, probably about 4 feet long, and they zoom past me as I am trying to flip myself back up. I later find out that there is some lake monster in Wallowa that resembles Nessie. I'm not sure if there are more in different lakes or rivers in Oregon. We are done kayaking. I eat the sandwich my uncle packed. It's a great sandwich. The sandwich was so good, I forgot to mention what I saw. This last one is in Oregon in 2016. At some random rest stop area under a bridge with those stationary barbecue grills and picnic tables. It's around midnight, I think. I'm with Jay and Junior, and we have our gear for exploration. BB gun, slingshot, flashlights. We are in the parking lot, listening to the dead silence. We exit the car and gather at the trunk. Junior starts talking about how some girl went missing in a place that looked similar to where we were. We are spooked. We decide to walk under the creepy bridge. The path is very narrow, and there is a bunch of rocks to our left and the stream to the right of us. We see what we think is a homeless dude in a sleeping bag on top of the rocks underneath the bridge. We back out and head to the car. We stand around for a bit and see a blue light in the trees. It's an orb. This orb starts slowing down, hovering through the tree line, and it flies towards us. The orb disappears once it gets closer. We get the hell out of there. Years later, we find out the orbs are souls that were ripped from their bodies during some sort of Freemason ritual. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I don't think this is scary or noteworthy, but I have something similar that belongs on X. I live in a fairly isolated house for most of my youth, with a big field stretching out before a small wooded area beyond my backyard, on the outskirts of town. I have an Egyptian moucat for several years that I love dearly. She always cuddled up to me at night and was very, very sweet. It often played with our dog in the backyard, and sometimes I swear she would purposefully wake me up when I would have bad dreams. She got me through many tough times growing up, and it wasn't easy to leave her when heading off to college. Still visit frequently, and I bring her little mouse toys and such on breaks. One winter break, I come home to bad news. We didn't want to tell you before coming home, so you would not drive upset, but the cat has gone missing. Apparently, several cats in the area have too. They think it's a coyote doing it. I don't really react at the time, but I am unbelievably upset and angry. Not too many nights later, I am awakened by a mocking howl outside. I start to sit on the back porch each night for hours with my dad's rifle and with our dog. One night, the dog tenses up suddenly. Soon, I can hear something near the back fence. I flick on very bright yard lights, and sure enough, it's a coyote. I immediately shoulder the gun and fire at it. It makes a kind of pathetic sound and starts to run off. I chase after it in a haze of primal hatred, vaulting over the fence. I did not want to kill it for the typical human reasons, not for food or for fur, or for bothering my herd, or being a nuisance or a threat to me. I wanted to kill it because I hated it, because it took my friend away. I had definitely hit it with the first shot, and it did not get that far. I found it curled up and already dead near some huge rocks in the field. It was a particularly warm and muggy Texas night, and I, drenched, collapsed to the ground and suddenly started to cry. My sadness turns to a flash of anger, and I start to beat the shit out of the thing's corpse with the butt of my rifle and yelling. I would have definitely seemed crazy had anyone been out there to see it, now somewhat muddy, and screaming and jamming my rifle's melee button on a dead animal. I suddenly feel compelled to look to my right, and there on the ground just 2 or 3 feet away, I see a small mouse toy. I picked it up and found it was the kind that makes the little chirping sound when you shake it or throw it. Despite being on the damp ground in the middle of the field, it looks brand new and is brightly colored. Strange that I missed it before. Holding it in my hands, I felt very calm, and the air now seemed pleasantly cool. I take back one of the smaller stones from that spot, along with the toy. I bury the toy in the backyard with the stone as a marker, with her name on it. Sometimes, when I visit my parents and sleep in my old room, as I'm just about to fall asleep, I can hear a faint purring sound. I've never really had any paranormal encounters, unless this counts. I've always felt that she gave that to me to help put me at ease, just as she would when I would have nightmares. I strongly felt back in that moment finding it that she did not want me to be angry and uselessly seeking vengeance. It's hard to word it correctly, but it was like a direct emotional conveyance or something like that, a feeling I don't think I would have ever reached alone. This happened to me when I was 14 and in the 8th grade. This school building is really old, like 100 plus years old. I stay after school with my friends sometimes because their parents work and mine don't really care if I stay. There are other kids who do the same, but the place empties out pretty quickly. It's wintertime. I am dicking around in the hall with my friends. Eventually they all leave and it's just me and my friend Ryan. There is nothing to do, so we just kind of talk. We are sitting around when there is a crash from one of the rooms. I figure it was just something that fell off a shelf. I did not pay any attention until we hear crying. What the hell? Ryan runs to get a teacher or some shit because he is annoyed me and thinks some kid hurt themselves. We were in the hall the whole time and never saw a kid go in the room. Whatever. The crying continues and gets worse. I get up and check out the room because I am a moron. The lights are out and it's getting darker earlier, so it's hard to see through that tiny window in the door. There is this dark shape sprawled out on the floor. Oh shit, there really is a kid there. Must have stayed in the room. I try to open up the door. The door is locked. I am freaking out because the kid is hurt and locked in the room. I keep looking at the kid. My eyes start to adjust to the dark in the room. Wait a second. The kid is totally pale and emotionless. They are still crying, but his lips are not moving. His limbs are twisted at impossible angles. It looks like a twisty tie. I am just staring at this in disbelief when he starts twitching. I shit myself. I scream because I am a pussy. Ryan and my teacher come running down to the room. I am too busy shitting myself to care. The teacher unlocks the door and turns on the light. I look into the room, half expecting to see a kid's corpse. Nothing is in there. It's the same as always. The teacher thinks we're screwing with him. We swear we heard a kid in there. He dismisses it and leaves us there standing like morons. I later tell Ryan about the kid's body and learn that some kid in that class got nailed by a car and died years ago. It spooked me really good. This happened to me when I was about 16 years old. I was hanging out with my friends. We decided to explore an abandoned maternity hospital. We find only one entrance. The hospital consists of 2 separate 16th-floor buildings, only connected by a bridge about 4 meters off of the ground. The entrance is on the first of the buildings, and we decide to go up the second building because of the beautiful graffiti that there is to see there. We walk up to the very top. We start walking down when it gets dark. I notice that there are empty elevator shafts all the way from the 16th floor to the basement. I hear 13-year-old screams from about the 13th floor of the first building. I brush off the screams because of the easy access inside the building for kids. I get down to the basement by stairs, feeling uneasy the whole time, me in the back without a flashlight. Out of nowhere behind me appear 2 13-year-old looking girls speaking Russian. The events took place in Latvia. I speak Russian. The girls are asking for our help to get outside. We show them the entrance seen from the second building right at the end of the bridge. The girls weirdly reply in unison, saying, "There is no exit." We laugh it off and start walking across the bridge to check out the first building. They definitely followed us across the bridge. When we got to the end of the bridge, you can literally see a street outside the entrance. We laugh even harder to show them the exit, only to notice that they have just vanished. We immediately check around the bridge, only to find them gone. Thinking they just left when I did not notice, but still all feeling shook up after the weird experience. We wanted to see what's going on at the first building, where those kids were screaming before. Find out that the first building is not finished past the second floor. There are no stairs. There was no way they could have been up there. We all went running out of that place in fear. We later found out that the buildings are popular for accidents, and that suicides happen there often. In those elevator shafts, an 18-year-old killed himself. 2 girls committed suicide off the roof some 4 years ago. Okay, I got another. I am keeping an eye on the office building. It's a late night shift again. It's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. on a Saturday. I have no friends, so I don't care. And again, I get to avoid the normies at normal hours. I am watching the cameras to see if there is any X-worthy ghosts floating around. There is nothing, just as usual. There are some staff still on site late in the evening. Around midnight, the last one will leave the office. I observe this woman in one of the hallway cameras. She acts like she is being followed, just like Elisa Lam did in the elevator, same mannerisms and everything. I get spooked seeing this and decide to investigate in person because my inner sense of responsibility tells me to do it. Before I leave, I observe a good 30 seconds of this woman running around like she's a secret spy agent or some shit, peering over corners and running as fast as hell for no reason at all. I reconsider going in, but I say screw it and go to the location. I spot her and ask her how the night is going. I am trying to gauge her response. She says all is good and walks off normally, but was unnatural in the response she gave, like she was panicked. I am thinking I messed up somehow, but realize maybe she was just bored or I was being stupid. I guess she was role-playing or some shit, but it was a little weird. There was no one messing with her, not that I could see anyway. Maybe she knew I would observe, but that was kind of weird for me. Dude, I had a similar experience. This happened to me about 2 years ago. I hop into bed about 2 a.m. I have issues with my sleep for years and years, so I'm not expecting too much. I turn the lights off and stare at the ceiling, attempting to calm my mind or something like that. Not more than maybe a minute or so passes, and I suddenly start cold sweating. It builds up to the point where I also start panting. I am shaking and feeling unwell in general. After a few minutes, I feel like I should do something. I sit up on the side of the bed. As I do, what looks like a bare, elongated human torso entirely covers up my left eye, obscuring my vision. It takes me a while to process. I blink to clear my eyes. It's still there, and slightly too close to focus on. I swipe at the air to see if it has mass, but I don't feel anything. After a good 10 to 15 seconds of silently freaking the hell out, my ears suddenly start ringing. Not in a gradually increasing way, but in a full-on war movie, almost got grenaded but dove away. Now watch me scream in slow motion to classical music way, like I just got flashbanged. I nub and decide to hightail it to my bathroom just across the room, for reasons unbeknownst to me. The shape lingers in my vision as I stand up and haphazardly make my way across the room, panting and having a hard time staying upright due to the absolute sensory overload and immense feeling of despair building up in me. As I get to the bathroom, I hit the switch. The lights go on and I blink, temporarily blinded. I open my eyes back up. I am back in my bed, sweaty as all hell, but otherwise fine. I am still processing what just happened. I check my clock and notice that not more than 10 minutes had passed since I went to bed. I then look over and notice that the lights are on in my damn bathroom. I did not leave them on. No. It's hard to explain just how immensely scared and hopeless I felt. Lucid dreams are not uncommon for me. The same goes for sleep paralysis, but this was something entirely different from what I'd ever experienced before, as I was fully awake. That being said, I do not believe in spooks. This happened to me about 2 months ago. I am walking down the street at 4 a.m. It's a small town, so I'm not really worried about getting robbed or anything like that. I noticed the new lighting in the town and stopped to take this photo. I did not see the smoke in real life, so I never noticed it at the time. This sudden boot stomps behind me. I rip my headphones off and cut the music and look. There is nobody there. I walk a few more steps up the road to get a better angle. I hear the boot start running aggressively towards me. I stop and look. The boot stomps stop before they round the corner. I cross the road. I start hearing shit breaking in the trees above me, but nothing is falling from them. I start hearing boot stomps right behind me, so I start walking backwards. Nobody is there. On my walk back, I notice what looked like an elderly figure walk in front of the travel center on the left, walking silently towards me, but not making a single sound. Despite being in the lights, it was a pitch black silhouette. I go back there 2 weeks later on a Sunday night with 4 people. One old lady claims that she is a so-called medium. She asks it yes or no questions with an EMF reader. She asks it, "Are you happy being here?" The EMF pings to 5, and the speakers that play the radio around town start playing up, switching between the stations. Between the announcers and song lyrics on all of the stations, it was suddenly flicking through we could all hear. "No, leave, get out, go away." There has been a lot of violent deaths in this old-ass main street, and we hear way too many stories to not believe that it's cursed.